Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm your host, Jim Goddard. John, last year's biggest discovery, the Hermosa Taylor deposit of Arizona Mining Inc., came under attack in December through an online article which declared that the discovery was another fraud like a Bre-X. The online magazine retracted the article after an outcry from the company and market observers such as yourself that it was an absolute falsehood to compare Hermosa Taylor to an outright fraud that involved falsifying results. The magazine published a second article that focused only on the arcane subject of smelter concentrates and penalties. Although most important resource juniors had a good start this year, Arizona Mining limped into January with a weaker market. On Thursday, the company published additional results and the stock woke up. Did we learn anything new?
Well, the news release had two positive aspects to it. The first was they reported the best ever intersection for the Hermosa Taylor project. This hole 396 was drilled at the western edge of the resource that they have published, which is 100 million tons, depending on whatever cutoff. This hole intersected a phenomenal 160 meters of 8.5% zinc, 6.9% lead, and 2.5 ounces silver at a depth between 540 and 700 meters. And it included a shorter interval of 32 meters of 22% zinc, 14% lead, and 5.5 ounces silver. That interval at today's metal prices is $1,000 per ton prior on a 100% recovery basis. This is a spectacular hole. And this is important because the game at Hermosa Taylor is to find the 80 million tons or so they need to support a 10,000 ton per day underground mining operation that relies on a shaft to hoist the ore to surface. And that's, for the moment, the limiting factor for the valuation upside on the company. They are working on the scenario of being able to drive and add it into towards where the ore is, and then they can operate on multiple faces and haul out a lot more than 10,000 tons per day. But this news, finding that there are very rich portions, sweet spots within the underground resource. This is important because this gives momentum to the idea that eventually they'll get the grade up to 15% combined lead zinc for what will be the initial life of the mine under the 10,000 ton per day scenario. Now, that was good, but even better was in response to this controversy that this UK online magazine has started, two entities allowed them to publish comments saying that they would have no problem handling the concentrates from the Hermosa Taylor project, the zinc concentrates that will have, above 1% manganese in it, which is a level where normally the smelters do not like it. One of them, Orion Mine Finance, said that they would be happy to take all the concentrate, the zinc concentrate at market prices. And the other one is Ocean Partners. This is a global trading firm that buys concentrates from around the world and then resells them to different smelters and blends them and all that. And they said they would be prepared to do a memorandum, an MOU on that stuff right now. So this is significant because these are competent entities versed in the whole smelter concentrate sector, and they've come out and said, no, from what we have seen, everything that's been published in discussions with management, we don't see any showstopper problems. So both this publishing the best hole to date and getting third parties, which at this moment have no relationship with the company, to publicly say that we do not see any problem with this, this helps a lot in turning around this meme that the short sellers have created by tagging the project with this fake news article, calling it a fraud, withdrawing it, but then leaving everybody wondering with a degree of uncertainty, is there something wrong with this? Because all they remember is that the word Bre-X was attached to this project. And this helps fight back against this destructive fake news meme.
Well, a major zinc discovery is pretty important right now because the 3 major zinc mines in the world are currently shutting down.
Yes, there is a depletion problem in the zinc sector. And one of the things we're also starting to see is brokerage firms are starting to look around for zinc projects. So it's starting to become accepted that zinc's time is finally coming. Investors are looking, brokers are looking for juniors that have zinc assets. Even Altius Minerals, which is a prospect generator royalty company, has put together a subsidiary that has assembled a number of these, supposedly worthless zinc deposits, which they certainly were when zinc was below $1. So we're getting even set for the big zinc optionality play where you'll see vehicles floated that host a number of zinc projects, deposits, and everybody will be buying these entities in order to benefit from a spike for zinc going to $2 or so per pound, where a lot of these projects are very much in the money. Hermosa Taylor, however, the management, Jim Gowans, the CEO, he's on track to turning this into a mine. This is not an optionality play. This works at the zinc price that we have very well. It even worked down at 90 cents per pound. Today it's about $1.25 per pound. And $1.20 is the magic number where everybody starts getting excited about zinc deposits and the zinc market.
And zinc lead, of course, is very dense, so that is a very good price for the amount of product you have to haul out of a hole.
Yes, when you have sort of massive sulfide ore, it tends to have a density of 3.5 to 4.5, meaning that a cubic meter of rock weighs, say, at 4.5 specific gravity weighs 4.5 times what a meter of water would weigh. And this is actually a very convenient thing for people who like to estimate how much tonnage is there. So you can do the simple math of doing the volume of what you think is the ore, length times width times depth, and then you multiply it by the specific gravity to get metric tonnage. Very difficult and complicated to do with imperial units, but the metric system makes this a piece of cake.
Discovery Watch Junior Gold Quest Mining reported a new discovery hole at its Romero project in the Dominican Republic. The stock gained 25% of good volume, yet the company stated it would not drill further holes in this discovery until it had tested the other 17 targets on its project. Is this new discovery important or not?
Well, that comment in that news release took me aback, and I contacted Bill Fisher and asked him about that, and I got an interesting background on this nature of this new discovery. They, of course, are in a major program that he thinks will not wrap up for another 3 months, where they have 17 targets left to test within this 15-kilometer belt. In the Dominican Republic, they call it the Rio, but it's all part of the Romero project, where they did discover the Romero gold-copper deposit, which is they would like to develop this as a 2,800 ton per day underground mine. But in the meantime, they would like to see if they're dealing with an entire district of these sort of copper, gold, massive sulfide type deposits. And so what they have targeted are IP anomalies, chargeability highs, which are indicative of sulfides in the rock, because the sulfides hold the charge, and so you can see them up. And so if you look on their map, you'll see all these pinkish red oblong shapes. These are the targets that they're going after. They are similar to what the Romero deposit looks like. Most of the time, they just have pyrite in it, which is just iron sulfide. What they're looking for are sulfide bodies that are also enriched with copper, and of course gold coming with it. You don't see the gold, but the gold will often be in the sulfides. Now, this discovery hole was drilled between two IP anomalies. The IP anomalies themselves did not yield any interesting metal values, but this hole drilled between them in what was not at all a target. This was actually generated by the geologists who did district-wide mapping, and came up with a gold showing. And so they drilled this simply because, well, we don't have a geophysical target here. Have this gold showing. So they drilled it and they got this intersection, and it has it had 2 levels in hole 9. They had 9, almost 10 meters of 2.5 gram gold and 39 gram per ton silver with 0.5% zinc. But then a deeper intersection, and this was only like maybe at 99 meters or so. They get another one of 15 meters of 4% zinc. It includes an 11% interval with high gold values. Now this has them intrigued, and they've looked at the nature of the mineralization. They say, okay, Romero was a VMS system where the deposit, the gold-silver sulfides formed before venting on the ocean floor. Here what they're seeing is this is mineralization where like the old smoker systems that you see off in the trenches in the Pacific. This is where the fluids actually entered the ocean and drifted downwards and settled down. So it has all the textures of that. So this means there's a vent somewhere. This is a distal, peripheral to the actual source. And so they're very intrigued. Wow, okay, so there's obviously something going on here. However, we don't know where to begin to look. We will have to drill a whole bunch of holes around this just to figure out the geometry and all that, and it could be, a couple kilometers away where the vent is. So they said, we're going to stick to our program of hitting the low-hanging fruit, which is all these IP anomalies that we know will contain sulfides, and they're large, and if one of them is enriched with copper, then we're off to the races with that one. So they're going to spend the next 3 months on that. If they don't hit anything bigger and better, they will certainly return to this target and start drilling around it to see where the vent is from this system. And this makes this very interesting. The market likes this because, okay, this is very interesting, good grades. There's probably a big VMS system somewhere near there. It's going to be tough to track it down. Meanwhile, hammer away at the low-hanging fruit over the next 3 months. Meanwhile, they've applied for a mining concession, and it's kind of backwards in the Dominican Republic. You have to get a mining concession from the minister before you can start the environmental permitting. It's backwards from where it is everywhere else in the world. So they're working on that. They hope to get that sometime in the next 6 months and then kick off what they feel will be probably a 1-year environmental permitting process, during which they can start trying to raise the capex for the developing the Romero copper-gold underground mine. But the big sort of hybrid upside is, okay, we've got the mine development play. That's also an optionality on gold and copper. But we also have this exploration potential where they could find multiple gold, copper, and zinc enriched systems. And because they control it all, that would make this project much, much more interesting for a major who wants to buy out. The Romero scenario by itself is not interesting enough. But this strategy of showing that we're dealing with a district of multiple mineable deposits, this is the game plan that they're pursuing for the moment.
Speaking of mine approvals, Scandium International has traded as high as 38 cents a share since the start of the year. Have they received their mining lease for the New South Wales government, or is there something else driving the stock?
Well, the company had suggested that it was possible that they could get a mining lease in December, but if you didn't have it by mid-December, that means the bureaucrats have all gone on holiday, and in Australia they don't really get serious about anything until the middle of the month. And we're almost at the middle of the month, and there has not been any announcement of a mining lease. But in the next week or so, it is possible we could get an announcement that they have the mining lease. Though with bureaucracies, you never know quite how long it will take. Cleantech, which has been waiting, expected to get its development consent modification for the Syerston project, also did not get it. So I gather things are gummed up in the New South Wales system. It's a different department. This one is the mining lease is a separate department from the environmental planning department that controls the development consents. But I would say it's more people becoming aware that the scandium story is gaining traction. Once the mining lease is obtained, the 20% partner has 30 business days to make up their mind whether to put up 20% of the capex or convert to what amounts to a 20% equity stake in the company. If they do, they will probably play a substantial role in helping fund the $100 million or so capex. And also the comment that I published, a tracker on November 11th, in which I do what companies aren't allowed to do, namely put forth speculative scenarios where I extrapolate what the expansion potential is for this system. This is now unrestricted, and I imagine a lot more people than my modest subscriber base are now reading this and getting their heads around what the potential upside for this project is if indeed the company goes successfully into production and develops the offtake market for the scandium oxide. And that's the big question out there is, will there be a market for the scandium oxide? And people divide into two camps. There are those who are basically visionless and can't imagine that if it doesn't already exist, that it could come into existence. And then there's others who understand that there's enormous latent demand on the sidelines, but none of them are going to buy anything until it's demonstrated that a primary scalable scandium supply is a reality. And I think that's what's helping the stock up right now. Once they get a mining lease, things will change. If the company announces an offtake agreement with a party which people recognize, well, this is not some private company about which we know nothing, that will also give the whole project a boost. So New Year rally and a greater expectation and understanding of what this story is all about.
And John, could you maybe refresh our memories about what scandium is used for?
Scandium is the perfect marriage partner for aluminum. In amounts up to about 1%, it makes aluminum stronger. It enables the weld joints to be as strong as the material itself. It is corrosion resistant. Anything that moves would benefit from aluminum scandium alloy because by being able to make it lighter, you have a fuel-saving cost. And that makes aluminum scandium story agnostic as far as renewable energy or the fossil fuel debate because and whether you're using fossil fuels or renewable energy to power your car, train, or aircraft, saving fuel is of importance. Everybody understands the meaning of that.
Discovery Watch with John Kaiser. We'll be back right after the break.
Gem International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond-producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109-carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. Gem International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back to Discovery Watch. We're talking with John Kaiser. John, do you have any new Discovery Watch juniors for us to keep an eye on?
The company I would like to introduce is Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp. It is a company in which I have shares, and I've just made it a bottom fish buy recommendation, added it to my 2016-17 list, which had about 100 on it at the start of last year, and which a number of other Discovery Watch juniors are headed towards being being added. Rainy Mountain is an old company. It existed in the 70s. It used to be called East West Resources, and the individual who was in charge of it passed away some time ago. Doug Mason's Waterfront Group ended up taking it under its wing. The man, however, who has been with it throughout this time is Bob Middleton, a geologist who lives in the Thunder Bay area of Ontario. He has been responsible for most of the projects that the company has acquired. He's a traditional prospect generator type, either finding these targets themselves or dealing with prospectors and recognizing, wow, this is a good prospect. Rainy Mountain has several projects farmed out to other parties, but the new one that's emerged as the flagship play is the Brunswick project, which they optioned 100% in September from Mike Tremblay. Now, people may not know who Mike Tremblay is, but he was the prospector who generated the Borden prospect a few years ago. He had actually introduced it to Bob Middleton, who pitched it to the guy who was running the Doug Mason's group of resource companies at the time. And that individual turned it down, saying, well, this is in that Capus casing structural zone area. The academics have said that, yeah, there may have been gold there put down in the Archean, but that huge later deformation event squeezed the gold back out into the rocks, and there are no meaningful gold deposits left to be found. Plus, Noranda drilled in that area and didn't find anything, and that really steamed Bob Middleton because he regards Noranda's exploration activities as a contrarian indicator. Anyways, Dave Palmer of Probe was the next person on the list. He recognized the potential. He optioned it for Probe, and that led first to a 5 million ounce discovery of about 1 gram per ton disseminated gold and sulfides. That didn't work at whatever gold was at the time, $1,200, $1,300. But they persisted. They kept following the zone, and the zone mutated into a free gold hosted sort of quartz carbonate zone with about 10 times the grade, 7 to 10 times the grade. And from what I could tell, they had about a couple million ounces of medium to high grade outlined when in early 2015 Goldcorp said, all right, we're going to take this over before it becomes bigger and better. And they paid $500 million at around $5 to buy out Probe. And they are now working on advancing that project. But what that discovery showed everybody was that the academics were wrong, that something else was going on, that the Capus casing structural zone did not necessarily destroy all the deposits, and it also revived interest in the Rideout Fault, which is a big regional deformation zone, which is believed to be the extension of the Cadillac-Larder structural break with which all these high-grade deposits in Kirkland and Val-d'Or are associated with. Now, this structural break, the Cadillac-Larder break, disappears under younger rocks west of Kirkland Lake, and it sort of resurfaces in the Shining Tree area, but at that point they call it the Rideout Zone, and there has not been much interesting discovered. The Borden system is at the far western end of the Rideout fault structure. There's some small stuff near Shining Tree. IM Gold is developing the Chester deposit, which used to be called Cote Lake, which they acquired by buying out Trelawney a few years ago. And in the middle now, everybody is interested in these segments. And Mike Tremblay had flagged one of these segments. And what has Bob Middleton really excited about it is he's gone in there, and they've done, some prospecting and rock geochemistry. He's outlined an arsenic antimony anomaly, which reminds him very much of the Bell Creek deposit that he was involved with during the 70s. They've run IP surveys on this, and they've identified at a depth of about 100 plus meters a strong chargeability anomaly, which should be sulfides, with which also they would expect the gold to be associated. The proximity to the arsenic antimony at surface is a big plus. He's got a 14-hole drill program lined out. He's got 9 kilometers of the ride-out fault structure in this area tied up. It's never been drilled because there's really nothing interesting at surface to see. And so this is, a new Discovery Watch candidate that if he's put all these pieces together and starts drilling and essentially a blind gold system in the context of rethinking the fertility of the ride-out fault, this could end up being a big discovery play. The company only has about $40 million fully diluted. It needs to raise more money. They're trading about 12-14 cents right now, and they're exploring various mechanisms for getting $1 million into the company to get this drill program going this winter, spring.
John, thank you so much for your updates.
Thank you, Jim. It's been a pleasure.
We've been talking with John Kaiser, his website, kaiserresearch.com. Discovery Watch will be back next week. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at howstreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.